lazım vesaire diye onlar tartışılmıştı. İşte o zamandan beri sanki biraz bekliyormuşuz gibi geliyor bana. Dolayısıyla genel çerçevesi bu ama bir taraftan sürecin nasıl işleyeceğine ilişkin hazırlıklar yürüyor. Bir taraftan da aslında bu süreçte bizim gibi ülkelerin, Türkiye'nin nasıl intibak edebileceğine ilişkin fonlama imkanları da aslında giderek çeşitleniyor. Dolayısıyla şimdi bunların hepsini değerlendirebileceğimiz bir oturum diye düşünüyorum ben. Şey açısından da son derece önemli. Hani bir taraftan tartışıyoruz işte deprem sonrası ne olur, yeniden yapılanma nasıl gerçekleştirilir diye. Şimdi onların hepsi üst üste geldi. Yeşil fonlarla aslında o yerelde özellikle yeniden yapılanmanın bir bölümünü Türkiye'nin daha kolay gerçekleştirebilme imkanı da var. Hani fırsatları eğer değerlendirmek istiyorsak o fırsatlar şimdi burada. Dolayısıyla bununla ilgili şimdi çok iyi bir konuşmacı grubumuz var. Beyza Hanım dışlarından. Dolayısıyla o bize bir genel çerçeve çizecek. Neredeyiz konusunda. Sonra İdil Hanım EBRD'den. O da bize EBRD ne yapıyor? İşte AFI'lardan bir tanesi nasıl faaliyet gösteriyor? Onlara ağırlık verecek. Marin Hanım AFD'den, Fransız Kalkınma Ajansı'ndan. Onlar da aktifler aslında Türkiye'de, değil mi? Özellikle yerel projelerle ilgili olarak nasıl yaklaştıklarını bence anlatacaklar. Dolayısıyla Rikke Hanım da Danimarka Dışişleri Bakanlığı'ndan, o da bize Danimarka'nın ne tür imkanları aslında Türkiye'de kullanabileceğine ilişkin bir çerçeve çizecek. Dolayısıyla önce bir başlayalım. Neredeyiz, nasıl görünüyor diye, ne tür aktiviteler yürüyor diye. Beyza Hanım sizden başlayalım. Bir sürü böyle sözler verdik, hepsini tam gerçekleştiremedik ama yine de çok kötü bir durumda değiliz herhalde.
Teşekkür ederim Sayın Hocam. Kıymetli hazırın, saygıyla selamlıyorum. Herkese günaydın. Zannediyorum İstanbul'un, biz Ankaralılar çok bilmeyiz ama İstanbul'un trafiği katılım sayısını birazcık etkiledi. Biraz sonra çok daha kalabalık olacağımızı düşünüyoruz hep beraber. Aslında sürdürülebilirlik ve ötesi temalı MARUF etkinliğimizin, 2023 etkinliğimizin ana konularından bir tanesi Avrupa Yeşil Mutabakatı ve bunun yereldeki yansımaları. Biliyorsunuz iklim değişikliği ile başlayan Sayın Başkanımızın da ifade ettiği açılış konuşmasında ve sonrasında aslında bunun iklim krizine dönüştüğü durum sınır aşan boyutları nedeniyle aslında herkesi ilgilendiren ve topyekün bir çabayı gerektiren bir tehdit, küresel bir tehdit. Söz konusu tehditin bertarafı için gerek ulusal, gerek uluslararası ve gerekse yerel düzeydeki tüm aktörlerin ortak bir işbirliği, bir çabası gerekiyor. Ülkemiz de Avrupa Birliği tarafından 2019'da Sayın Hocam'ın ifade ettiği gibi başlatılan Avrupa Yeşil Mutabakatı'nı yakından takip ediyor. Yakından takip etmesi bir aday ülke olarak, bir gümrük birliği üyesi ülke olarak aslında Avrupa Birliği mevzuatına uyum çerçevesinden değil, aynı zamanda bu hususun ülkemizle yakın ticaret işbirliği olan Avrupa Birliği arasındaki ilişkileri de ekonomik ve ticari düzeyde etkilemesinden kaynaklanıyor. Avrupa Yeşil Mutabakatı ile ortaya konan aslında husus Avrupa Birliği'nin bir dönüşüm aracı, bir kalkınma hedefi aslında. Yeni bir şeyleri, ekonomik ve ticari bir şeyleri yeniden yapma, yeniden dönüştürme ve daha rekabetçi olabilme, üretim ve tüketim araçlarını, modellerini değiştirmesi süreci. İklime dayalı olarak ortaya konan bir süreç. Dolayısıyla yerelde de, ulusal düzeyde de, merkezi düzeyde de bütün üye devletlerin ve birliğe ortak değerlerle katılmayı arzu eden ülkelerde bir etki ve tepki yaratıyor. Bu oturumda aslında dünkü oturumlarda da dile gelen, akla gelen bu işin finansal çözümü konusu daha çok değerlendirilecek. Bu yöndeki imkanlardan bahsedilecek. Ben çok genel olarak Avrupa Birliği Başkanlığı Programlama Daire Başkanı olarak buna yönelik çözümlerde 3 ayrı kaynağın olabileceğinden bahsedeceğim. Çok derine inmeyeceğim ama sizlerin proaktif katılımlarıyla, sorularla ve cevaplarla bunu daha da detaylandırarak gidebileceğimizi de düşünüyorum. Buradaki temel unsur aslında finansmana erişimdeki sıkıntılarla ekonomik sürdürülebilirliğinin sağlanıp sağlanamayacağı meselesi. Burada 3 farklı kaynak imkanı var. Bir tanesi katılım öncesi mali yardım kaynakları. Bu kaynakların programlamasını Avrupa Birliği Başkanlığı ilgili kurumlarımızla birlikte merkezi düzeyde yapıyor. Keza merkezi düzeydeki akredite bazı bakanlıklarımızla da yerel düzeye kadar uzanan bunun etkileri oluyor. Ve Avrupa Yeşil Mutabakatı yani Green Deal katılım öncesi mali yardım fonlarının, hibe fonlarının da kaynağını, ana nüvesini teşkil ediyor. Özellikle green ve digital dediğimiz ikiz dönüşüm. Ve bu husus yerelde de finansman imkanları sağlıyor. Bununla alakalı bir dolu proje ki değerli konuklarımızın da zaten portföylerinde olan projeler halihazırda uygulandı ya da uygulamaya başlayacak. Bir diğer kaynağımız ise birlik programları. Birlik programları da ülkemizin katılım sağladığı, Avrupa Birliği'nin temel politikalarını yürüttüğü, kendi birlik üyeleri ve de katılımcı ülkelerle yürüttüğü bir başka finansman imkanı ve birlik programları içinde de yine aynı şekilde gerek özel sektöre, gerek kamuya, gerek STK'lara, gerek akademiyaya adresli önemli fonlama imkanları yine mevcut. Ve son olarak Avrupa Birliği tarafından da yenice ortaya konan ve yeni bir mekanizma olarak bizim de başkanlık olarak ülkemize ve özel sektörümüze ve kamuya ve de yerel yönetimlerimize sunduğumuz Türkiye Yatırım Platformu mekanizması. Bu da Avrupa Birliği hibelerinin garanti olarak kullanıldığı ve gerek blending anlamında gerekse kredi garantisi anlamında kullanılabilecek ve uluslararası finans kuruluşlarıyla Avrupa Birliği'ne akredite uluslararası finans kuruluşlarının yine portföylerinin kredilendireceği bir program imkanı. Hemen saatime bakıyorum. Çok da süremi aşmamak noktasında bu oturumun 2 ayrı oturumla daha bütünleneceği imkanlar var. Saat 11.30'da ve saat 16'da 3 nolu odada bu sefer daha
10:30, one at 12. There will be 2 sessions that will complement our panel today. Those 2 sessions are coordinated by TÜBİTAK, Technological and Scientific Research Council of Turkey. So I will be very happy to elaborate.
Ya da saat 16'daki değerli arkadaşımın da sunumlarıyla yapılacak oturumda da finansman araçlarının derinine inebiliriz. Hocam benim bu kadar olacak.
Teşekkür ederiz.
Katkım, ilk
Sağ
katkım
olun.
en azından.
Galiba İdil Hanım'ın sunumu da var.
For me now. Okay, let us now turn to Miss İdil Gürsel. I believe she would have a presentation too. What kind of opportunities green transition offer for Turkey, and can we call it as an opportunity for local actions? Well, I would like to tell you more about EBRD's efforts to support green transition and the type of activities we support. And yes, I have a presentation indeed. Shall I use the pointer myself? Okay. So I would like to give you a brief overview of EBRD in Turkey. Turkey has a 13% share in our total portfolio, hence it's the largest countries of, it's actually the largest country of operation. To date, we have provided 17.3 billion euros cumulative investments. And here you see all the figures. And in 2023, we expect to provide even more financing. And here is a slide on our municipal finance. We provided support to various projects with a worth of 1 billion euro finance. And we have carried out projects in Bursa, Gaziantep, Mersin, İzmir, Istanbul, Ankara. So we supported green projects. We do not only extend municipal loans, but we also have grant funds. In this way, we aim at enhancing capacities of local authorities and also to measure their productivity levels. Project feasibility studies, environmental studies, project design studies. In order for all these activities to be carried out, we provide project preparation support. We also have a separate grant for project supervision. And we also run different programs to support municipalities to improve their management practices. So our landmark program at EBRD for a green transition in cities is called EBRD Green Cities. And this is a program, the Green City program, implemented in all these 38 countries of operation. So we are trying to prioritize green projects, measure their contribution to green transition. Of course, for us, this is an overarching strategy and our ultimate policy. And in order to achieve this strategy, we have Green City Action Plans, GCAP. We prepare those action plans in full consultation with many stakeholders. This action plan informs us on the financing of green projects, and financing might cover waste water or water and wastewater or recovery of waste. So there are a number of subsectors which we support. And of course, another important element of the program is the building of capacity in city administrations and key stakeholders. Altogether, these actions enable access to green finance based on concessional agreements. So here are our cities: İzmir, Istanbul, Bursa, Ankara, Gaziantep. So these are our 5 green cities. Some of the action plans already completed and adopted. Some of them are underway. So this is a European Green Cities network. We also have participation from many other cities around Europe. So we ultimately aim to have this network strengthened. Since November 2016, under the EBRD Green Cities, we supported 2.6 billion euro, and we also contributed to the reduction of CO2 emissions. Let me give you an example of a project that we supported under the project, Ankara Bus project. We actually informed our stakeholders that we would support electrification, electric vehicles or CNG vehicles, CNG-powered vehicles, and Ankara Metropolitan Municipality decided to proceed with its plans to buy 30 buses powered by CNG. They made a decision. And this project ensured 20% reduction on GHG emissions. Of course, the municipality gave us some commitments about implementing this action plan, Green Cities Action Plan. Another example, Bursa Water Project, we provided a loan of 70 million, accompanied by concessional finance. This was another project that contributed to reduction in GHG emissions. So we provided 5 million concessional finance too. Another example from Gaziantep solar project. They wanted to reduce their energy costs to energy savings. We provided a loan of 10 million euro, accompanied by an investment grant from EBRD, SSF funding. This was a project for increasing energy efficiency across municipality and to ensure green transition. This is all I would like to share with you in this round, and I can tell you more. So you do directly work with municipalities, unlike the World Bank. You don't need to go through the İller Bank or the Provinces Bank. No, we can provide direct loans to municipalities, but of course the municipalities should be credit-worthy, they should have strong balance sheets. So yes, then we also need to discuss about the problems in the next round.
Onun da bir sunumu var. I think she has a presentation as well.
First of all, I would like to start with a very quick presentation of AFT, so as EBRD did. L'Agence française de développement, donc Francis-Kalkonma Agence. We are a French public institution. We were established during the Second World War, so a long time ago. We have two subsidiaries. One is dedicated. One is dedicated to the private sector, namely Proparco, and the second is dedicated to international technical cooperation, and its name is Expertise France. Just a few figures. Last year, we committed 12 billion euros financing all over the world. We intervene in more than 100 countries, mostly in Africa. Half of the financing we provide worldwide have climate co-benefits, positive climate co-benefits, and we work mostly with the municipalities and as a non-sovereign partners, public banks and municipalities. Here in Turkey, so we really focus on projects that are climate compliant. All our portfolio is climate compliant. We started our activities here almost 20 years ago, and we provide both financial and technical expertise. We committed 50 projects in the past 20 years, around an amount around 3.5 billion euros. So to reach that goal, we have different financial tools. First of all, we provide non-sovereign loans directly to the municipalities or public banks. The average amount of that kind of loans are around 100 million euros, between 50 to 100 million euros, which is huge. We have a second way of financing municipal projects is also AFD side. We're just working with the public companies, public banks mostly, and the municipal subsidiaries dedicated to water sanitation or transportation and so on.
Okay, thank you. So the floor is yours, Rikke. The Danish Foreign Ministry.
Yes, thank you very much. I
Tell
also
us
have
what you are
a
doing.
presentation, I think.
Şeyi alabilir miyiz? yeni sunumu.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation, and it's a pleasure to be here and listen to these great examples. I will start in a little different place because I also listened to the UN Habitat at the opening yesterday, and part of the initiative, the reason I'm here in Turkey, is the Danish government support of the SDGs, and as was said yesterday, we are only following the targets on 12% of 169 targets, so we're not doing very well. And municipalities, regions, companies, civil society all play a major role in this transition, and this is why it's so important to talk about these things. So, in my opinion, in this area of green transitions, there are four pillars. So we have the E, S, and G, which are part of the Green Deal. This is the reporting. But those are the non-financial reporting. So the fourth pillar is finance. Business profit is still a large part of society, and for something to be sustainable, it also needs to be economically viable and long-term. So this is the only way that the transition and the changes that we make will be long-term. In short, money talks. This is also why the EU has started with the EU taxonomy. This is why they've started with moving the money. We see this in Denmark, in pension funds, investment funds, all kinds of programs where they move the money. They start to make investments depending on reporting on sustainable issues. And this is how we get the right behavior. So, in short, can money facilitate the green transition? Yes, it can. And will it also be how we make resilience in municipalities and regions? Yes, it is, because this is the only way that we can make the transition. So I will, at one, maybe now and later, come with a few examples from Denmark. One example that Idil didn't mention is the ESCO Finance that I know is also supported here. And this is where a financing method where you actually use the future savings on investments as to finance the investment itself. And these kind of finance schemes and new business models are necessary to make this transition work. In Denmark, we have a big corporation, or it's actually a member organization called Realdania. And not only do they have a huge investment portfolio that they now do impact-assessed investments with, so they only do the actual investments in green projects, but the surplus are then reinvested in society for the greater good. So they will do in urban development projects, buildings, infrastructure. This is an example of how the investments generated on the actual, here it comes, I may not change it now because I'm a little far. But this is a good example of how the green investments can facilitate other green projects. Together with these examples, one is a project called Blocks Hub, which is a Nordic hub where they have gathered different stakeholders. So when we talk about green transition and solving these issues, we need to bring people together. Nobody can be sustainable alone, so we need to bring the industries, the businesses, the municipalities, government, and academia together, even civil society, and involve everybody. So we must make sure that the private sector comes with the solutions. And a large part of the private sector is the SME segment, which I used to work with before my job in the ministry. They don't have the knowledge and they don't have the funding to do the green transition, and they don't know how or where to start. So my former job is a good example of how the municipality in which I was living was saying, the companies need to make the green transition, we need to help them. So we made a center centered using the framework of the global goals, where the SMEs and startups could come and have a look at their business model, have a look at their strategy, and try to understand how they as a business could tap into this green transition. But they also need the finance, and this is where all these great projects that we have heard about prior to my presentation come in, because the smaller companies they may have the ideas and they may have knowledge to tap into, but they don't have the funding. So they need support, they need to be involved in all these projects that we hear about and work together with municipalities and government level. But they also need to be supported because they consist a long and huge part of the economy. So for now, I think that will be my contribution.
Thank you. And this is a good start for the second round, in fact, because the important issue is when it comes to financing, when it comes to be ready for the green transition, it's not only the availability of funds that's important, the possibility for the people at the local level, the institutions at the local level to be able to use those funds. Bence şöyle bir şeye geçelim o zaman. AB söz konusu olduğunda da ortada bir sürü fon var aslında. Ama o fonların kullanımı sonuçta o kadar da kolay olmuyor.
In terms of transferring them to projects, and there are few conditions that we have to talk about. And we should be eligible for those projects. The first condition for this is to have an idea about where we're going to use that funding. So we have to have a project prepared to this end. So let me focus on the macro level then. What did we do in the first round? With respect to the Green Deal, the initiatives taken for Green Deal, could they be used as a development tool? That was the question. And my answer was, I talked about the financial means available. EU sees Green Deal as a development tool, as a transformation tool. That's what I said in the first round. When we talk about the financing tools, when we talk about IPAs, I forgot to say that since 2001, Turkey has been benefiting from these mechanisms, from these grants. The EU, Minister of EU and the General Directors of EU right now under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, at the central and local level, Turkey benefits from these funds. But the purpose of these funds are threefold. One of them is to fulfill the requirements of the EU acquis. So just give support to that. Another portion is economic and social compliance, social development, giving support to social development. And the third one is focusing on dialogue, supporting civil society. So these are important tools to achieve these goals. So in other words, the answer to the first question is, could they be used as a development tool? Yes. In terms of when we talk about Green Deal, yes, we can. These pave the way for it if we have access to them and make use of them. Now, the IPA funds, for those, there's a myth that these are difficult to use, but Turkey has made great progress. Although the funds, for different reasons, are less now available to us. These IPA funds are grants. They're not like the loan programs, and for the environment and climate change, since 2001, a significant amount has been used for these fields by the relevant institutions and at the local level. The most important thing, I don't want to call it a bottleneck, but parallel to the priorities of the EU, we have to identify the needs, and this means we need to program it. So central institutions, central bodies, with our emphasis on this, by asking in the local agencies, all stakeholders, this should be presented to us as a program. The most important thing here is, in the field of Green Deal, it's the same. The needs must be identified and programmed by getting the views of all relevant stakeholders. Then it should be presented to us. And with respect to the implementation, Turkey also suffers from another bottleneck with regard to IPA funds. There are various accredited agencies, public institutions who are in charge of running these IPA funds. They are very competent, but they are end beneficiaries. There are end beneficiaries who are not competent enough to run such funds. Having access to the IPA funds is ensured within the framework of the programs that we have devised. There's another source, the EU programs, and those programs can be made use of by applying to the calls. It could be the public sector or the private sector applying for those. These can be used, these can be spent, and these are very valuable. In room 3 at 11:30, there will be another session for smart cities and net zero emission. So these are the programs under Horizon. These are calls open to the SMEs and the private sector. How to apply for these calls and how to get support, we will talk about these in that session. There are institutions like the National Agency or TÜBİTAK or the various ministries that act as instrumental in making use of those programs. But how to apply, what kind of examples exist, what should not be done. The trainings that we offer cover all of these areas, and I think we can make up for the gap, for the current gap in this way. Yet you have to feel that need, first of all, and then look into what can be done. There are different funds provided by the EU, and all of the things that I have said apply for all of those programs. One thing that I forgot to say in the first round, we have 3 cross-border programs that our directorate is in charge of. Within the scope of those programs at the local level, digital transformation, green transformation, there are other funds available within that scope. Finally, as a new tool, I'm not going to go into the details, it's just a spoiler to attract your attention to the other session at 11:30. We will be working with international financial institutions. projects with high bankability. We will address the projects that will focus on that transformation. We'll make sure that we develop portfolios that will help us be proactive. The EU funds, it's not the excess, but in terms of using the EU funds, we have to know what we want. We have to devise the plan. And these are all related to the senior management. One last thing, then I will finish. Here, one thing that I really liked, in the projects for dialogue with the NGOs, exchange of know-how. Wow. NGOs that failed and that were successful, they discuss things together. So don't give up. If you are rejected once, maybe in the second run you will be accepted. But in the third, fourth, or fifth, you will succeed. In terms of having access to the IPA funds or EU funds or in finance, the basic issue here at the global level is what I have just said. Thank you.
The EBRD.
Yes, let's also have the perspective of the EBRD. What is your take? Because we're talking about local development, and if we're talking about sustainable development goals, they should be implemented at the local level. To what extent we are able to achieve this transformation at local level, and what are the issues you experience? If we're talking about constraints, perhaps one can talk of mentality or some limitations about capacity, but as I'm coming from a financial background from the banking sector, I would like to talk about issues about financing. In fact, municipalities already have these green project stocks. They have the CNG powered buses, they have wastewater facilities, waste to energy facilities, sewage sludge to energy facilities, renewable energy facilities. So they need all those investments anyways. And these are all projects that would ultimately contribute to green transition. But is there enough financing for all these project ideas? Absolutely no. There are 4 or 5 IFIs. One of them is AFD, the other one of EBRD. I can just name a few. Those are the only ones that do provide finance to municipalities. Let's have a look at the commercial banks. These commercial banks' loans cannot provide longer-term loans with long-term maturities that would somehow support these heavy investments. We also received ratings, data about the municipalities. Of course, municipalities might have good ratings, but then national rating score is also quite important. That's why not all available financial mechanisms are now open to Turkey. And at this juncture, it is quite important to attract finance that is already available. And in this context, EBRD is doing its best to promote Green Cities project. And we also need to consider alternative sources of finance. We all know that public sector, private sector cooperation alleviates the burden on municipal budgets. So these are very crucial projects, very important investments. Municipalities should not refrain from doing some tenders themselves. There is a new provision in Build, Operate, Transfer legislation. Now it is possible for your water administrations to carry out public-private partnerships. So this is quite significant. And then another important development undertaken by the Ministry of Energy is they drafted a legislation, they actually enacted this legislation on energy efficiency in public buildings. Given the number of public buildings in Turkey, this will be quite significant. Talking about solid waste projects have been carried out through PPP models anyways, but now with the new tariffs, we know that projects do not receive great interest anymore. So we should not only consider sharing high electricity cost, but perhaps the municipalities should be paying some premiums or contribution fees to private sector. And then, of course, return on investment or a payback ratio, we should increase these. We have listened to some examples from the EU. This is what we also aim. We consolidate and merge our commercial loans and concessional finance. And in this way, we try to reduce the total cost of investment, electrification, state-of-the-art technologies. These are the areas where we provide concessional finance, and we work together with many institutions in the EU, and in the United States. Let me talk about the capital markets too. Yes, financing is limited. There are only very few countries that provide concessional finance. There are some international development banks like ourselves, and we need to reach out to different investors for sure. And for that, we need capital markets. We need bond issuance, green bonds, sustainable bonds. Through such mechanisms, we can reach out to more investors. Of course, when we talk about green bond issues, municipalities should have ratings secured. They need to definitely make necessary adjustments in their institutional capacity and governance to comply with international practices. They need some formal official approvals at national level. So these might be some constraints. So there are 2 Eurobonds issued in international markets. I hope that this would set a very good example to others. So now this particular stakeholder can issue bonds by itself. So I think there is more room for improvement. We just still need to continue working in this direction. Thank you for your input. We should not forget that we are still at the very beginning of green transition. So when we talk about finance, we need to consider that for commercial banks to have more appetite, I believe there will be a new risk map soon to be published. So we will actually see how green transition risk will be reflected and what it will mean for the balance sheet of companies. So for rating scores to be identified, we need to actually measure the polluters. We need to understand to what extent polluters pollute the atmosphere. So I think your initiatives clear the path, raise awareness, educate us, because I think we don't have well-established financial mechanisms yet. Yes, of course, commercial banks might actually can actually easily finance projects by international companies or large-scale companies, corporate companies. Actually, our fellow panelists from the Danish consulate and also AFD, they mentioned too, if we want to go to grassroots, if we want to go to local level, then we need to assume the risks of municipalities. But there are only very few institutions such as our international development banks or IFIs. There are very few.
When you were discussing about what the French Development Agency is doing, you know, you have mentioned both direct loans to direct funding to metropolitan municipalities and also İlbank funding too. Exactly. Maybe it might be useful to elaborate on that too, because if you ask me, İlbank does not seem to be a good conduit to support the process also at the same time. They need a kind of a reform process, if you ask me. Both İlbank and also all other development banks that we have in the country requires an overhaul, as far as I see, from a distance.
Thank you. Yes, in fact, from the discussion that we have the same, we are on the same page with EBRD that financing is really an issue and green financing is really important. It's the reason why we are working at the AFD group level, both with the public and private banks, with very dedicated green credit lines that should be able to irrigate the overall financial market with green products. So that's for the first subject. It's really a matter that is important for us. It's our core business, I would say. The setting we have with the İlbank and European Union fundings is important because it's a way for us to convey strong messages about climate finance, of course. It's a way also to reach the smaller cities which we can not work with, considering our own constraints and theirs. It's also a very good opportunity to commit fundings for technical assistance, meaning that these grants are dedicated partially to help the public banks, including İlbank, to strengthen its own teams and have internal processes and change the mindset of the way they finance the projects they have in the portfolio. Either the project they're financing with our funds, but also the overall portfolio of projects they finance. So it's a way for us to open the discussion and try to convey the messages that climate is very important, and also, I said it before, but it's still a very important matter for us, the gender equality message that I was laughing earlier today that saying that we are not very gender balanced because we're mostly women, but it's a way, usually when we are in meetings there are more men than women, so it's good that we are representing today. It's one strength of the donors we have. But if I can add on the subject going beyond, I think that another weakness that could be also an opportunity for the Turkish municipalities is the training and education that should be also emphasized. We need to educate the younger people and all the population to the climate stake and the sustainable activities that we should all provide to our activities. In fact, I think that it's for the moment it's not well enough broadcasted among the people, and so there should be a work with the universities, with the schools, and that overall messages that are now very well known in the European countries should be broadened everywhere. It's a really important messages that we must convey. Educational trainings have to be updated and in order to reach such objectives. And also an important point is that within the project, we have to monitor the benefits of the project. How is it better to go greener? What are the benefits for the population? Of course, it's better to use green energy. It's cost less and it's better for the air. But also there are consequences on the population at the health level, for example. And these benefits are not measured, and it's not something that we value today. And in the balance, we could decide to finance a cheaper project, but on the long term, going green today would have very much more benefits in the future. And I think that's also an important message. And we should value the longer term benefits.
Rikke, challenges on the ground.
Yes, actually, there were several words that you mentioned that I have noted here on my paper. When we talk about the funding, both from the EU, but also government programs or even banks and private, the risk, as you were saying, is going to be a part of getting that finance, and your ESG reporting is also going to be a part of getting that finance. So in the future, to even get finance, you need to know about this, and this will be the challenge of the private sector. How can we actually prove or document that our project is sustainable and will have the benefits? So in Denmark, we even see today that you can get a better interest rate to buy an electric car than a fossil-driven car. So it will cost money to not be sustainable in the future. It will be more expensive to access finance, if you can even access it, if it doesn't have a sustainable purpose. So that is very important, and this is again why we have to help the private sector to get this knowledge and see the business opportunity in the sustainable development. For the municipalities, there are several issues I would like to touch upon. One is, do we prevent or react to climate change? Because if we don't work with the prevention and reduction of pollution and CO2 emissions, etc., the bill will just grow. So in the long term, it will be so much more expensive to try and save the cities of the reactions or the consequences of the climate change. So this is why we need the long-term perspective, as Marine was saying. But also the municipalities need to show leadership. They need to show the way forward. And one thing we haven't discussed is actually also a type of finance, in my opinion, is public procurement. So when the municipalities are sourcing and procuring they are a big enterprise also and has a lot of funding. And if they set the demands that when you deliver to the government or municipality, this also has a green profile, then you will push the demand, and then the businesses will see, oh, this is an opportunity for us. So if we develop projects, if we do innovation, do new products, then there will actually be buyers for these new innovations. And this will sort of get the ball rolling on a different level. So public procurement is also very important and going forward. And then I totally agree on the education side, the mentality change. I would like to give an example. In the 70s in Denmark, we called landfills directly translated waste places. So it's a place where you dump the waste. Then during the 90s, we renamed them. We made fewer places and we renamed them to reuse stations, directly translated again. So this was the beginning of trying to get things into circulation. And at the same time, we made a deposit system on all plastic bottles, glass bottles, metal. So when you buy them, you pay maybe 10 lira in deposit, and when you return it, you get 10 liras back. This will actually create both an economic incentive to take it back, but also create a business opportunity for people to collect these things and get money out of it. And I know similarly, you know, carbon and cardboard, you can get money, but this is trying to make new models for the circular economy. And today I just saw that one of the municipalities in Denmark has made a resource city. So not only is it a reuse center for waste management, no, now you see waste as a resource. So if you don't give something value, then it's worth nothing. So if waste has a value, if I am told that this is money worth, I will not throw it, because then I will throw money. So like with the CBAM you were mentioning, the carbon emissions border taxes, this is also to make CO2 emissions have a value. So giving things value and giving things finance is the most important thing, in my opinion, for us to do the right thing, and then we will change our mentality, and then we will do the change needed, but because it's all behavioral. In the end, it's people, and it's people's behavior, and it's change of behavior that needs to form this transition, whether it's pollution or waste or water use or whatever. So we need to put a value on it, and we need to ensure that the necessary finance is available for these innovations. Yeah.
Thank you. Şimdi size doğru böyle döneyim. Sorular varsa onları soracağım ama şu bırak.
The questions, but I'd like to say a few things from where she left off. Yes, we need a mindset change, but that mindset change means at the same time determining the cost of it. When we had the climate law, we'll see how the emissions trade is going to work. We're going to have an emissions trade system similar to the EU. For the products that are not part of it, the Ministry of Finance is going to come up with a tax regime. It's going to be the most important test, and it is the same story everywhere in terms of building a climate sensitivity. This is the most important component. We keep advocating the fact that it's important to preserve biodiversity. We keep saying that, but now, if we want such a world, how much are we going to pay for it in return? They're going to ask that question to us. Okay, to stop climate change, how much are you ready to pay? Are you prepared to pay? So sensitivity requires radical change. Adaptation to climate change requires that. We're right at the inception of that discussion in Turkey. While funds will be collected through carbon taxation, carbon taxes, and they have to be used again to meet the purpose. So this is the beginning of the beginning for Turkey. We have a very long way to go. But right now, there are things that help us to get used to the new process. How to use the tools to finance development. The more we get involved in the discussion, the more it will help others to follow us. Because right now, we're not paying anything. When I say we're not paying anything, having the decrease of CDS risk premiums, that's something important. We changed the economic program after the elections. Turkey is now on a new path. All of these things are meant to decrease the risk premium. But there are things, funds, resources available by the institutions for development, for local development. Maybe our municipalities still need some corporate capacity. Maybe our public banks are not organized enough, the ones in Turkey, like the İl Bank. If it transforms into a bank rather than a project implementation unit, it would be more beneficial for all of us to make use of these resources. So there are some capacity restrictions, limitations. I'm not going to keep it too long. These are the main lessons I learned from this discussion. Yeah, I see your hand as well. My name is Seda Kayrak from the Consulate of Denmark. Two questions, one to İdil. In your presentation, you talked about PPPs, that you support PPPs as EBRD. Could you elaborate on that? And in the world, PPPs can be used as a support for green transformation. Sustainability criteria could be embedded into the procurement criteria. So this is one of them only. Where are we right now, and what else could we do? This is the first question. Second question to the French Development Agency. When they provide these supports, the French companies, what about the French content? How do you work? How do you operate? Could you please give more details? Thank you. İdil, we don't really like PPPs, don't we? Well, we do give significant support to PPPs because development, well, we believe that we should make use of the know-how of the private sector in achieving green transition. We have the PPP consultancy department specifically offering consultancy. Well, we can offer you financing, but we have the PPP consultancy unit. Talk to them. Don't take on your shoulders any debt and benefit from the efficiency of the private sector. This is what we advise every time, but municipalities, unfortunately, are not very much interested in this. As I said before, this energy from waste has been instrumental, but we haven't achieved much other than that. With green transformation, you asked the relationship with PPP. International development banks have set themselves goals to give loans for green transformation. For each and every loan, minimum 50% of them between 2021 to 2025 should go for green transformation. If it achieves a reduction of CO2, then it's a green project. It doesn't matter whether it's a PPP or a public project. Well, all of the loans of the bank should be compliant with the Paris Agreement. So this naturally requires addressing financing to certain industries. Well, I believe that PPPs are very efficient from the perspective of the following. Sometimes PPPs could be a real burden for the public sector, but projects are completed on time with a certain budget. So fast delivery makes it very attractive for PPPs. If we could have more PPPs in green projects like the metros, generally we use them for highways, but if we could adopt a nice strategy for rail systems, for metros, it could be used more efficiently. I think our problem with respect to PPT is transparency. If you take the measures, then there's no problem. Because the main problem of the current PPs is the lack of information about the content of the contract. Because what we hear about the contracts is just something that we have heard. I'm not going to give any answer to this question. Well, of course. We do a value for assessment. Would it be cheaper through PPP or public procurement? We do value for money assessment, so it favors PPP. But the private sector can complete a project very fast. When it comes to the public sector, there are many restrictions and cost overruns. The number is high, so PPP rationalizes itself.
Yes, thank you for your question. AFD, we are intervening under the umbrella of both the French Ministry of Finance, Treasury, and the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But we are working as a private bank. We are going on the market for our own funding, where we can value, and we intervene through untied aid. So we work through bids with the counterparts we are working with. Where we can ensure that French expertise will be valued is that in most of the countries we intervene in sectors where French expertise is available. And secondly, we also have a very dedicated product which is called FEXT, which is expertise funding. It's a grant funding. We are matching with the French enterprise according to the needs of the counterparts, foreign counterparts. So we assess the needs, and if there is any French expertise available, we match the two of them and finance is through grant.
Thank you. We have a question over there, and then there. If you introduce yourself too.
Okay, thanks. Okay, good morning everyone. My name is Arif Darmawan. I am a lecturer at the Department of Economics, University of Lampung, Indonesia. I coming here with my dean and all my group of my students to join the Marmara Urban Forum. So thank you so much for giving the extraordinary opportunity to come here. My question is, since I am coming from Indonesia, developing countries, our government just launched about the carbon market mechanism in September 2023. I want to ask, and I want to have the inspiration from the speakers, because all the speakers is very remarkable regarding about the economic issue and resilience of the environment. Maybe you can share about the carbon market mechanisms and how that we can get the insight from the developed country and from the country who already implement the carbon market into the mechanism to support the sustainable development in the country. So thank you.
Do you have any comments? I don't know, but you know, in Turkey, we still haven't designed the emission trading system. But hopefully, I think this year, the remaining part of this year and the coming year, we have got to prepare it as with the EU. This carbon border adjustment mechanism has already started. But we can talk over this, because here we are basically discussing about the green funding mechanisms that are available especially for local development opportunities in the country. But when it comes to carbon pricing, when it comes to the funds that are collected by carbon pricing mechanisms, by the emission trading mechanism, that's, I think, another issue. Huh? You have any other? If you have any comments, please, Rikke. You have?
Yes, I think it's time is almost up, so I'm not sure if if we have. It's a very complex situation, but I feel you should start like with any other green transition issues. You need to start with the knowledge. You need to know how to calculate your emissions. And I know a really good project is going on between the Danish Confederation of Industry and TISC here in Turkey, where the Danish Confederation is sharing how they work with these calculations and sharing knowledge. So I would reach out to education systems and companies, organizations in Europe that are also beginning, because they are also working with these calculations, and try to share the knowledge, because we need to lift this agenda together. And we don't have time for everybody to invent it from scratch. So I think if you reach out, a lot of European entities in any country would share their knowledge on this. And that would be a place to start.
In Europe, it has been more than a decade now. You have a carbon pricing mechanism, huh?
Yes, and it's been going on, but it is still difficult. So even though it's been going on for quite some time, it's still a very difficult task, yes.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nargis Kayka, and my question to Marianne Karcher. You mentioned a project in your presentation, water and sanitation project in 8 cities in Turkey with the EU funding. I'm curious about the date of that project, because like most of those cities are affected by the earthquake on February, and that's one of the problems right now they're facing. And it's an early project or a new project? Yeah.
Thank you for your question. On our side, the project had been approved before the earthquake. It was an ongoing project, but it took a long time for the studies to be ready. So, luckily, I would say, the few projects had started yet, and so nothing has been affected. Maybe some update on the studies has to be made, but they will be adjusted to the needs, of course, and the challenges that the different cities are facing now.
Deprem konusunda bir ekleme yapabilir miyim? Çünkü deprem şehrinden bahsetti. So maybe I just want to add a few things, because you just mentioned about the earthquake. As EBRD, we have put together our tools how we can address the problem with those cities. So we have announced a package of almost 1.5 billion euros of support to address the problem in the region. So out of this package, we are considering providing, because the financial viability of the cities in the region cannot really afford high amounts of loans, we are going to provide loans, sovereign loans, directly to Ministry of Treasury Finance, which will be transferred to İl Bank. And İl Bank will use EBRD's procurement standards and rules, and then will realize the investments in that region. So earthquake is actually obviously it's a very, very sad situation, but also an opportunity to really push for the green transition, because most of the infrastructure in these cities will be renewed. We see a lot of investments needs, especially in the wastewater and clean water, potable water areas, and a lot of buildings will be built. These can also be green and efficient buildings that employed energy efficiency mechanisms. A lot of renewable investments can be realized in that region. I just wanted to touch base, given you reminded me the earthquake. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If you don't have any more questions, and the time is already up as far as I see. So, if you have any last remarks? Okay, no? Thank you then. Thank you for all.